G'day ladies and gents, welcome back to the YouTube channel. How are we all doing? It's another Should You Buy? And today we're talking about everyone's new favourite motorcycle from Yamaha, and that is the YZF R9. Or as most people would just say, R9. But if you do Google R9, you tend to come up with the Moser R9 racing wheel. So we'll specify the YZF one for this video. But from this point on, I'm just going to say R9 because I'm lazy, alright? So the R9 starts off at a $23,199 price tag right away from the Yamaha website. Depending on the dealership and all the things you want to do to it, price is going to vary, but on average we'll just say it's about 23 grand, alright? Hefty price, but it's a new bike, these things tend to be this way. So, what's the R9 packing? We're packing that beautiful CP3 engine, which is a 890cc engine. Crossplane engine, even though I believe the CP3 engine is just actually a standard inline 3, but they call it the CP3. I don't know, someone can correct me in the comments there, but from what I know, it's just a standard crank CP, inline 3, sorry. It makes about 117 horsepower, or around 86 kilowatts. Hefty for the street, perfect amount for some. Very linear power delivery. It sort of tends to hit the ceiling, rev out a bit too early from what I've seen. A lot of people wish it had another 500 to 1,000 RPMs in the power band, but it don't. So just be aware of that. If you're revving this thing out all the way like a typical 600 class bike, you're going to hit the wall pretty early. So it's not made for that high revving, but it seems like it wishes it could. It produces about 68 pound-feet of torque or 121 newton meters of torque. And then look, 120-ish horsepower with 120-ish newton meters. Beautiful, beautiful amounts. So it's going to pull hard. If you've ridden an MT-09, I know I have, and I have enjoyed them. It's just a sportier version of that. So it's going to be more uncomfortable, handle better, and hit like a freight train. Now, unlike the other R-design bikes, this one has the built-in sort of fairings. A bit divisive. I don't think it's necessary, and it's sort of a downwards trend. I sort of liked some of the older wings on certain bikes. Now they're becoming a bit too commonplace to the point where it's actually ruining a lot of the look of a lot of bikes, in my opinion. Some people love them, but from the general consensus, a lot of people don't like the wings on this new bike. Alright, the R9 packs a 5-inch TFT full-color display. It's got some smartphone connectivity with your Bluetooth, so you can adjust, you can answer your calls, I think change your music. It's also, if you have an app, you can get a turn-by-turn GPS system. And also, it's got the latest switchgear and controls on the bike, which means, hey man, it's got a lot of buttons, and I think it comes with cruise control. I could be wrong there. This bike does come with a 6-axis IMU. Everybody loves a bit more technology, don't they? It's got a 9-mode TCS system, so boy oh boy, if you are very picky about your traction control, there are options. You got a 3-mode slide control, a 3-mode lift control, so I believe that's anti-wheelie stuff. You got a brake control system, but they can all be turned on and off, so if you don't like one of them, or you don't like all of them, so if you want to track the bike, you can turn them all off. Everybody loves it, alright? This one features an aluminium delta box frame. Everybody loves a new frame. Dual swing arm, as most Yamaha bikes have. Ain't gonna be going with no single-sided one on this bad boy. The bike features an adjustable KYB suspension, and that includes a 43mm USD front fork with a base valve and a rear shock with a low-speed valve, which supposedly generates linear damping for better handling and chassis stability. Look, it's a sports bike with sports bike suspension from Yamaha, alright? It's going to have decent suspension, it's going to love it, it's going to be firm if you hit a few bumps, but around those corners it's going to be nice and stable. Everybody knows what to expect. It's a Yamaha sports bike. They always handle pretty damn well. Alright, this bike does feature some Brembos. It's got a hydraulic disc up front with a 320mm rotor, and it's got a single hydraulic disc at the back, and the rotor's about 220mm. Of course the bike has ABS. We already talked about the TCS system, so why wouldn't the new bike come with ABS as well? Alright, it's pretty standard these days. Now, if it's in Australia, all new bikes have to have ABS. We don't get the options like, I know in America a lot of bikes come with the cheaper model without and the model with ABS. We don't get them in Australia. We purely only allowed to get the ABS ones. So if you don't like it, you have to take it out yourself, but that's more hassle than it's worth. Of course, sports bike, got some nice sporty tyres. You've got a 12-70 ZR17 tubeless tyre at the front and a 180/55 ZR17 tubeless at the rear. Look, if you don't like them, usually people put some Rosso, some things on them. It's a sports bike. You can change things depending on what you want, put on what you want, alright? It's a tyre. So, millions and millions of options, plenty of choice there. So, hey man, tyres are one of those beautiful things that are pretty easy to change. They can cost a lot of money, they can cost not so much money. The choice is yours, alright? The bike length, it's just cracking over 2 meters. It's 2,070 millimeters long, it's 706 mils wide, and max height is 1,181 millimeters tall. The seat height like most sports bikes, is a bit taller, so if you're a short ass, you might struggle. It's 831 millimeters tall, just shy of 33 inches for those Americans. Wheelbase is 1,420 mils, the ground clearance is 140 millimeters, alright? Standard sports bike lengths, if you're familiar with like your R6s and your R1s, you sort of know what to expect. If you've sat on an R1 or an R7 or an R6, you know what the seat height sort of situation is. Now look, if you're real short, you might be struggling. You might not be able to even touch the ground. If you're really short, you might have to do the one leg only. If you're average height, 5'9", you'll be tiptoeing. If you've got really long legs, well then you might be flat-footing. Alright, stuff like that. So I'll be tiptoeing. I can almost flat-foot it, but I am at that point where I am just shy of being able to flat-foot sports bikes in most cases. Clip-ons, because of course, it's a sports bike. You ain't putting handlebars on these unless you're stunting them. They are going to be great stunt bikes. Everybody knows that CP3 engine with its mountain of torque. So if you're building a stunt bike and you can get one of these bikes, you're going to have a great time. Alright? Wet weight's about 195 kilos. Hey man, standard weight for a bike. Now the thing with the R9 is the fact that if you haven't got one already, and no one's selling one secondhand because they probably won't for a while, good luck getting one. So the R9, as far as I know, Japan cannot make enough of them. So we're sold out for the next year and a half, apparently, in Australia, from what I hear from a dealership. They are very popular off the shelf. I know a lot of the bigger YouTubers have bought one. Everyone knows Thought Taken, he's bought one. Yami News probably bought one. Adobe Motors bought one. They're selling, alright? All the bigger YouTubers have bought one. Popularity is at an all-time high, and I can imagine that everyone and their mother has already tried to get one if they're in the mood for a new sports bike. Europe can't buy new R1s anymore, as we know, because of emissions, because it's ruining everything. This is their fastest bike Yamaha offers right now, so this is the only bike you can get if you want the upper echelon of Yamaha in Europe. If they're popular there, good luck, man. Good luck, that's all I'm saying. The bike comes in 3 colours. You get your Team Yamaha blue, you get your matte black, and you get the Intensity white redline look. I'm a big sucker for the Yamaha blue. I always love it. Depending what you want, you can get it black, you can get it white, you can wrap it, repaint it. The bike is a blank canvas for a lot of people, so if you want to do some mods, be my guest. Usually, the biggest seller points for me is a nice tail tidy, and when you have the indicators on the inner lip of the tail, like in that little wind tunnel section, I think that's when these bikes shine. But look, man, it's a sports bike that produces a mountain of torque. Everybody's, loves a good street bike. Now, a lot of people are going to complain that it doesn't rev out like an R6. Fair enough. It doesn't do that. The CP3 engine does not do what inline 4s do. This is pretty standard knowledge, alright? It does rev, I think, about 11,000-ish. It redlines a bit sooner than most. A lot of people who track it for the first time end up over-revving because they just don't know, and they sort of expect it to go beyond what it's capable of. Fair enough. I think with a tune you might be able to get another 500 or so RPM out of it. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it will help. But if you're tracking the bike, you will find that you'll be redlining it for a little while before you get to that sweet spot where you're used to where to shift. Quick shifter, good stuff. Brakes are nice and strong, but that red line just comes in too early. Now, a lot of people aren't happy with it because the R6 is technically faster, but a lot of the time I think the R9 will be a better bike. Now, they brought the R9 out and it won its first race. Everybody loved it. But honestly, come on now. An R1 as a street bike is outrageous. An R6 as a street bike is fun, but it's not going to be that much faster than a lot of the other bikes just because the way 600s make their power. The R9 has the power from the go, alright? It revs and hits that power straight away, basically. Yes, I know its peak torque is a little bit further in the revs, but even after riding the MT-09, it's the same engine, man. They hit, and they hit hard. So as a street bike, much like the R7, everyone likes to talk crap on the R7s. As a street bike, they're phenomenal. The R9 is just the steroid version of the R7, essentially, with an extra cylinder. So it hits like a freight train. It pulls nice and hard. Its top speed's not going to be as high as the R6 or the R1. But let's be honest, unless you're living in Germany where you can actually use all that power legally, or you're tracking it all the time, you're breaking laws. So having the bike that hits that torque power early and gets you up to speed nice and quickly, that's more fun for realistic riding. If you want to break the law, I ain't going to stop you, but I ain't going to preach to do that either. I like to be relatively safe when I ride, so call me an old man, despite me being younger than a lot of you guys. I like to ride my bikes legally, so I like to have a lot of torque that gets me up to speed fast, as opposed to a bike that hits its power when it's about 120 kilometers an hour, which is already faster than all of our speed zones in Australia, or an R1 where it really takes off and then you're like, well, I've redlined first gear and I'm now, if I get caught, I'm going to jail. Alright? So the R9 is a great bike for that in-between, where if you want to have your sporty looks, your sporty suspension, sporty handling, but still have all the power that the triple engine produces. So I think it's a great bike. It's better for everyday use as well as a track toy, as opposed to the other bikes which are better for track and fun on the streets, but you can't really enjoy them, if that makes sense. But realistically, the R7's the best street bike I think Yamaha makes. If they made it with a bit more features, if they made an R7M that was a bit more premium with better suspension and that, I think it'd do really well. But the R9 is the next best thing. So if you want a new bike for the street and you're committed to sports bike lifestyle, if you can get your hands on one, I reckon these would be a fantastic motorcycle. But that's pretty much all there is to know about it. I told you all the features and all the brakes and whatnot it comes with. Make your decision. If you can get one, you'll be a very happy chappy. But without further ado, that's all from me, ladies and gents. So otherwise, take it easy, keep it cheesy, enjoy yourself. If you can get one, I'd love to see a photo in the Discord or send me a comment down below. But take it easy, keep it cheesy. Peace. Bye!